This is my final draft. This is my last time filming this. I'm done putting my entire fucking job on the back burner so that I can agonize over this. I'm not David Foster Wallace. Nobody gives a fuck. I wrote 50 drafts of this script, then I recorded it and nothing came out right. That's typical of me. I get in front of a camera and I get all worked up. It's ridiculous because the goal of the essay was to justify my continued existence, to find some reason to continue. I take some level of pride in my writing, the same level of pride a cat takes in a mutilated bird. I hate how I get out here and I step all over it. That was a beautiful bird that I killed just for you, and now I ruined it. This is what I'm going to do this time. This is how I'm going to leave this essay upon your pillow. This is how I got blood all over your bedroom. This is your problem now. I did write the sentence, the one I needed to hear, but it feels very small in the face of it all. I even had to become a vegetarian to get to the sentence. I'm not happy about it. You know the saddest part? My father, who this essay will go far too easy on, used to take me to work with him. He would drive to an oil well in the middle of a cow pasture, then he'd write numbers down in a little book, and then he drove to the next one. I just liked the cows. I liked to get as close to them as I could. Their eyes are hardly intelligent, but they're not completely vacuous. There's something there. The poor bastards, I think they love us. I think we bred the docility into them. I think we tortured an animal over unspeakable generations until it was our perfect slave. I feel like a cow a lot. Too much now for me to enjoy hot dogs, and, well, I guess that's it. But I don't know why I pity them. They should pity me. I don't truly understand the story of much of my childhood. A larger story is heavily implied. I used to pity how cattle were branded, castrated, and finally killed over something they could never understand. They cannot comprehend the shareholder interests as they are placed into pens and fed antibiotic-laced feed. We are their Lovecraftian horror. We are the thing that is cruel and hungry beyond the rest of the universe's wildest imagination, but I've been investigating the horror of my own life story, and this essay does argue to some degree that, you know what? Walk away from the mountains of madness. Graze upon the hills at their base with me. Don't comprehend the horror. Go read The Lord of the Rings or something. Life is too short to spend all your time trying to comprehend the horror. You can't. And also, it's horrible. Try to learn piano or something. But the reality of my childhood was suffering in a story beyond my comprehension. I identify with my Chinese horoscope, not my Western one. I feel no compassion for crabs. I feel no affinity for crustaceans as a group, and I cannot be made to. I was born in the year of the ox, and that's what I've always had to be. I'm in the middle of something which keeps hurting me, and I don't know why. I've talked about industrial farming before, but I didn't talk about why I cared so much, why it haunts me. That something we tricked into loving us is then castrated, branded, humiliated, and finally sacrificed upon the altar of our appetites. Since I stopped drinking, I had to acknowledge the problem. My hooves are bleeding, my gums are bleeding, there's blood everywhere, and I know I can't walk anymore. I tried to figure out why. I got my stupid fucking sentence that I needed to hear. The cows don't need sentences. They need to bear it, and so they do. But I'm a man, and so I ask, what's my motivation? And I invent it. I draw it from the depths of my soul because no one else will give it to me. Maybe the sentence will do something for you. Maybe the 1,000 sentences I had to write on the way there will do something for you. I had to walk this stupid garden to find my sentence. I had to remember how my face was rubbed into the thorns. I had to take pictures of it and go and get them developed. And then they sent me back someone else's photos. And guess what? Their pictures were better. It wasn't even close. Here's the sentence I had to write 1,000 times in the middle of this stupid fucking garden you all stuck me in. This is my final draft. I've been trapped in this garden. Really, I was born into it. But I read a story about it once, and it goes like this. God sent his son here to say all sorts of things about how we should treat each other. He said, "You're not allowed to decide what other people deserve. You're not smart enough, and it's not nice, and it's just not your business what they deserve, if indeed they deserve anything at all." Then, everyone decided what he deserved. And after that, people screaming his name decided what a whole bunch of other people deserved. The problem remains unsolved as I see it. From my perspective, I don't think the situation will ever meaningfully change. We like deciding what people deserve. The story goes that this guy wandered around the Garden of Gethsemane on the eve of that moment, where he finally got what he deserved. And he saw in the garden all of man's sins. From the start to the end, he saw all of time and space in the shape of our malice, our hate, our greed and cruelty. He saw you squish bugs and lie to your parents. He watched entire cities and nations burn. He watched the weak weep beneath the heel of the strong for all time. I like the story, the broad strokes. I do take issue with the 1,500 pages of esoteric desert madness which precedes it, but what can you do? I don't like the Book of Job. It seems like the guy was hard done by for no reason at all, and he never understood the whole thing was a joke. The garden is mentioned only briefly. It's a small part of this guy's story. As if all the sins of man could ever be small. The story makes it out, inexplicably, as though they were. And that's my problem. I saw all of your sins at once, too. I don't think they're small, and I think you all deserve to have demons make lampshades out of you. I know I sound like I watch Rick and Morty, but in reality, the problem is, my story starts in the garden. This one. The garden is the dawning of my awareness, or damn near enough that it doesn't matter. If that's all you see in the beginning, you're very afraid to leave it. The last thing you want to do is interact with the people who grew it. I'll tell you all about it later. That's the problem with the garden. You can't see it at the beginning. It overwhelms everything else. It's an unflattering first impression of humanity. I don't go outside. Now I read all these historical sources where all the sins are written down by hands which wrestle with their own deeds and the deeds of others. Men who fought towering Gauls and Aztec eagle warriors have told me what it's all about. Skull measurers and Apache raiders have both made their reasoned arguments above piles of rotting meat. I've watched the worms eat the weeping eyes of all involved, and I wonder if I'm just like them. If I'm just trapped in history like everyone else. If I'm doing a ghost dance too. That's why I keep writing the same sentence over and over. That's why I write circles around the fire. But it didn't do any good for them. Carved into the garden wall are sick justifications. I suppose the garden must provoke a reaction, and that is human, but that reaction is the problem. When most of us walk through the garden, we only defend and rationalize much of it. We say this bush had to happen, or that orchid was justified if you really think about it. The endless sins of man have inspired quite a bit of commentary, and I don't care for most of it. It's not just evil. The writing on the wall reveals that the evil is shallow, repetitive, unexamined. That since being blessed with the gift of reason, man has used it to find out the answer to only one burning question. Who deserves it? This is all someone's fault, and when I find them, they're going to get what they deserve. And that's how the garden grows. A precious few who walk this garden said things about it which I do hold to be true. These people do not defend it. They don't justify it. They diminish it. They testify to the ability for one single individual to bear the entire garden on their back. Vonnegut said, "So it goes," but I say this. It's carved into the garden wall. It's another of the countless senses in which we've clothed our collective sins, but it's my favorite. It's the actual reason behind it all, with no judgment imposed. It's a naked truth, and the first true historian, Thucydides, wrote it. He wrote, "The strong do what they will, the weak suffer what they must." I saw all of your sins at once. She was 13, I was 7. I think I was younger, and I'm working with an unreliable source to say the least. But I was, supposedly, 7. Most of it happened here, where the light doesn't reach. I don't know why she chose to do it in an abandoned church next to the garden. I fear she was trying to tell me a story, and I worry that she thought it was clever. Everyone that carves all their sick justifications into the garden wall, they think they're fucking clever. I suppose that some expectations were subverted, but the story played out the same way it has since the dawn of time. Maybe she thought it clever, but I thought it was derivative. There was more to my sexual abuse, but I think that's enough. It inexplicably was not. Faith in humanity is hard to come by when you have nightmares about getting raped by the girls in your class, but you hope you can get something out of it. Something nice and pithy for the wall, at least. I am no Kurt Vonnegut, but I have a problem that's somewhat similar. I can't take anything from the melting wreckage. There's nothing to be said about it. All I've gotten is an estrangement from humanity and an overwhelming fear of all of you. All the writing on the walls seems to fall into two categories: justifications, or beautiful sentiments which are made all the more tragic by where they were written, by what the writing is attempting to cope with. It's so sad watching all these beautiful ideas suffocate in the tiny spaces between the monstrous justifications. The problem remains unsolved. The problem is the situation, the way it's all set up. I don't wish to disparage my parents. I am obligated to. To be delicate, they exploited, expanded upon, and drove deeper into me the fear of all mankind. They taught me that I was not human. I was not sacred. I was made out of dead machinery. I was sent to another school where I was taught to fear not only strange, sad girls and my parents. I was taught to fear everyone. I was taught that the strong do what they will and the weak suffer what they must. I was taught that I didn't work anymore. The humans knew that something had broken me. The beatings and humiliation would continue until I finally decided to rectify the situation. I was bullied, yes, but never physically hurt by my peers. I'm an ox. I'm just too damn big. But a practiced bully can see in my eyes the unfortunate reality that you can do anything to me. Tell me it's normal, and I will say, okay. I was disciplined harshly at home and school, and this discipline took the form of screaming, insults, and physical abuse. I was made to stand or sit in a taped-off square on the ground for days. I was degraded, humiliated, and made into a sniveling worm boy. I was then treated accordingly by my peers. It's hard to fault them. When I stopped drinking, I investigated my own estrangement from humanity, my overwhelming fear. I did what I always do with historical figures. I followed the chains of causality, and wouldn't you know it, they're chains. How can one rebuild a faith in humanity which was never there in the first place? The garden was intended to test faith in mankind, not salt the earth in which it may have grown. Misanthropy is not clever, it's not interesting, it's not insightful. The garden is but a small part of the story of mankind, and the story of a single life is narrow. The story of my life is narrow. A life is narrow. History has taught me not only that we can't stop deciding what each other deserve, and that's how the garden keeps growing, but also that, indeed, our perspectives are too narrow to decide that sort of thing. We lack the capacity, the perspective, the wisdom necessary to decide what to eat for breakfast most of the time, and yet we are so unwaveringly convinced of who deserves it. I read these primary sources, they tell me what really happened, what it's all about, because they were there. And I guess you'll have to believe me when I tell you, they had no idea what story they were in. They never get even close to what story they are in. They are too narrow to understand their story. In The Other Slavery by Andres Resendez, it was written that during the gold rush on Hispaniola, the slavers and prospectors would turn to each other and say, "Take the most advantage, because you do not know how long it will last." Of course, it was forever. It was the only story. My will to live is feeble because I have nothing to live for. I think that's why I've always liked Kurt Vonnegut. His characters don't arc gracefully across the plot. They are dragged by their feeble wills to survive across the merciless pages. I think I've internalized well the lesson of the garden, at least as best I could. I don't get to decide what people deserve. It's not good, all this deciding what other people deserve. People always decided what I deserved, and I think they were always wrong. They thought I deserved to write this sentence over and over, as punishment for the sins of all mankind, which some sad girls decided I should answer for. The sentence they made me write was, "I will make good choices." I wrote it thousands of times. I repeated it and repeated it. My small hand cramped and my little unseeing eyes were blinded even further with tears. I conducted the ritual they said would purify me, and it only intensified the frustration, the anger, the sheer terror. This was the situation. There was nowhere else. Since the dawn of my awareness, I have dreamed only of escape. I have no people, I have no tribe, I have no rituals except the one where I write the same sentence over and over again instead of the one that I need to fucking hear. The one which convinces me to leave the garden. The one which saves my life because no one else will bother. Misanthropy is not clever and it's not deep. It's just what I have. The poison which I carry with me, the poison which has taken my youth, my joy, and I worry now even my future. If I can't leave this garden, then my life only ever existed in the shadow of it. I keep trying to write a sentence which saves my life. Kurt Vonnegut wrote one that saved his once, but I'm no Kurt Vonnegut. He said that he felt like dead machinery, that he was just a broken writing machine, that he was no more sacred than a lathe or a Pontiac. But then one of his characters said that beneath the dead machinery in all of us lives something pure, an unwavering band of light. It's your awareness, the I am to which all messages are sent and received. And what upsets me so often is the carelessness, the sheer disinterest in my developing awareness, the overwhelming belief that I was a machine and I just didn't work and I could be made to. If we simply give this molested boy enough tough love, he'll figure it out. The problem with this boy that's seen all the sins of man, he's had it too easy, I think. Hey, someone get in here and molest this boy again. As a child, I was raised by people, and then as a teenager, I was raised by books. Another one of Vonnegut's novels was about his time at war, told through the lens of a character named Billy Pilgrim. Vonnegut wrote about how he didn't cry the whole time, save for at the end. It's written almost like Billy Pilgrim isn't even there until the end, where he finally can be. World War II is over, and Billy is sleeping in the back of a carriage. Their soft voices coming from outside. They're cooing affectionately at something or another, and sounded to Billy like the people who took Christ down off the cross. Billy finds the source of the voices to be a German couple who had taken pity upon the horse pulling the carriage. It's starving and thirsty. Its eyes are bloodshot, its gums bleeding, its hooves cracked. They had treated the horse as though it had no feeling, as though the horse had no awareness or sensation at all. They treated it like a Pontiac. They realized their mistake and unharnessed the horse, but it couldn't go anywhere. Its hooves hurt too much. The problem this essay continually returned to was this. I keep writing the same sentence over and over, but I'm trying to find the sentence I need to hear. The draft couldn't be final until I had that sentence. The problem with my relationship with humanity is that beneath every sentence, underpinning every moment, every interaction, however small, lives to me what is the only true sentence. The one Thucydides wrote. The one I'm sick of writing. The one I wish you people would stop making me write. The one that perfectly summarizes the situation as I see it. The situation which I simply cannot exist within. It was the worst part. How all these beautiful sentences that beautiful people wrote into the garden wall looked so small, so meaningless in the face of it all. Paul Laurence Dunbar's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings is indeed a beautiful poem. It feels a little hollow, though, when I recite it during the rape of Nanking. Because, and I know this is obvious to most, you're not supposed to recite poetry during the rape of Nanking. Of course it feels silly. That's what the garden's for. That's what it does. That's its place in everyone else's story. The garden is made to make it all hollow, pointless, and false. And so it has always been for me, because that's all I got. The garden. But I'm leaving now. I'm leaving the garden, and I'm going to say hi to the people that grew it. I can only hope that they can't see just how stupid I truly am. How in spite of it all, in my eyes it can be detected the unfortunate reality that I will always love them. Because I'm still here, beneath the dead machinery. Beneath it all, the light lives, and this is what it says. Take what you will, and I will remain.